Prime Minister, President Trump last night cast some doubt over his commitment to Article 5 and what exactly it means. Are you going to ask him for clarity today, and what would be the point of NATO if Article 5 isn't 100% secure?
Well, NATO is as relevant and as important today as it's ever been. We live in a very volatile world, and today is about the unity of NATO, showing that strength. We're bigger than we were before, we're stronger than we were before. There's a historic commitment in relation to spending. And for me, as Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, it's important that we play an integral part, because the safety and security of our citizens in the UK is my first duty as Prime Minister. I take that extremely seriously. And in relation to our contribution, the increased defence spend, obviously that goes to our security and our safety, but it also is the engine of growth and jobs in the United Kingdom. So this is a very important meeting of the summit. NATO comes together at an important point, stronger and larger and more determined than ever.
But will you be asking him for clarity?
Well, look, I think it's very important that we stand here as allies, and we do stand here as allies, coming together, absolutely committed to the importance of NATO, particularly at this point in a very volatile world.
For me, there is absolute clarity that the United States is totally committed to NATO, totally committed to Article 5, and yes, there is also an expectation, which will be fulfilled today, that the Canadians and the Europeans will speed up their spending, making sure that we not only are able to defend ourselves against the Russians and others, but also to equalize. And this is fair, that we spend the same as the US is spending.
With them all the way. I mean, if you take a look at the numbers, we're with them, and they have very big things to announce today. I don't know if you've taken the vote or you're going to take the vote, but I've been asking them to go up to 5% for a number of years, and they're going up to 5%. That's a big, from 2%. And a lot of people didn't even pay the 2%. So I think it's going to be very big news. NATO is going to become very strong with us. It's a great victory for everybody, I think, and we will be equalized very shortly, and that's the way it has to be. And it's going to be a lot of money, too, a lot of defense.
The big thing about Article 5, and the good thing about Article 5, is that it is clear that we defend each other when we are attacked. But you will always get all these questions. You ask, but if this cyber attack or this hybrid attack, we never go into those details. Hey, but listen, it's totally true. Would you really think that the 7 or 8 countries, not at 2%, at the beginning of this year, would have reached the 2% if Trump would not have been elected President of the United States? Do you really think that, of course, there is a threat from the Russians, China, etc., but that it would be doable to reach this commitment of 5% today? And I'm hopeful and cautiously optimistic we will get there. If Trump would not have been elected president, so I think what I said in the text message to him, totally fine that he published it, please, but totally fine that he published it, I think is a statement of fact.
Fighting each other, they've had it. They've had a big fight, like 2 kids in a schoolyard. You know, they fight like hell. You can't stop them. Let them fight for about 2-3 minutes, then it's easier to stop them.
And then Daddy has to sometimes use strong language to
You have to use strong language. Every once in a while you have to use a certain word.
Not entirely.
Yeah, well, they said it was actually, the report said it could have been very, they don't know. I mean, they did a report. I could have Pete talk to it because his department did the report. They really don't know. I think Israel's going to be telling us very soon, because Bibi is going to have people involved in that whole situation. We hear it was obliteration. It was a virtual obliteration.
And given the 30,000 pounds of explosives and capability of those munitions, it was devastation underneath Fordo. And the amount of munitions, 6 per location, any assessment that tells you it was something otherwise is speculating with other motives. And we know that because when you actually look at the report, by the way, it was a top secret report, it was preliminary, it was low confidence. All right, so this isn't, you make assessments based on what you know.
And it said it could be very devastating, very serious.
Moderate to severe, and we believe far more likely severe and obliterated. So this is a political motive here.
Was there a leak investigation?
Of course. We're doing a leak investigation with the FBI right now because this information is for internal purposes, battle damage assessments.
But had we not succeeded with that hit ended the war. That hit ended the war. I don't want to use an example of Hiroshima. I don't want to use an example of Nagasaki. But that was essentially the same thing. That ended that war. This ended that with the war. If we didn't take that out, they'd be fighting right now.
The conversion facility, which you can't do a nuclear weapon without a conversion facility. We can't even find where it is, where it used to be on the map. You can't even find where it used to be because the whole thing is just blackened out. It's gone.
It's wiped out.
It's wiped out. Then we dropped 12 of the strongest bombs on the planet right down the hole in 2 places. Everything underneath that mountain is in bad shape. And I refer you to the statement of the IAEA, Mr. Grossi. You know what he said? He said there was Iran, the way it looked the day before the attack, and what their nuclear program looks like now. 2 very different things. They are way behind where they were just 7 days ago.
The last thing they want to do is enrich anything right now. They want to recover. And we won't let that happen, number one. Militarily, we won't. I think we'll end up having somewhat of a relationship with Iran. I see it. Look, I've had a relationship over the last 4 days. They agreed to the ceasefire. And it was a very equal agreement. They both said, that's enough. They both said it. I mean, they just went through hell. I think they've had it. The last thing they want to do is enrich. They've been trying to do it. By the way, it's hard to enrich. And, you know, when you look at a site like that, very, very hard to build, very, very hard, very expensive. They spent trillions of dollars trying to do this thing, and they didn't come up with it. And we're actually getting along with them very well right now.
The big thing about Article 5 and the good thing about Article 5 is that it is clear that we defend each other when we are attacked. But you will always get all these questions, yes, but if this cyber attack or this hybrid attack, we never go into those details. The countries have to find the money. It's not easy. These are political decisions. I totally recognize that. But at the same time, there is absolute conviction with my colleagues at the table that given the threat from the Russians, given the international security situation, there is no alternative. We've got to do this, really. Of course, these are difficult decisions. Let's be honest. I mean, politicians have to make choices in scarcity. And this is not easy because 7, 8 countries at the start of this year, not at 2%, they will now reach the 2% this year. Many of those countries said we will do it somewhere in the 2030s. They've now committed to do it this year.
I think progress is being made. I think great progress is being made on Gaza. I think because of this attack that we made, I think we're going to have some very good news. I was talking to Steve Witkoff, who, by the way, is terrific, and who knows more about this subject than anybody, the subject of what we were just talking about. He was on last night with Jesse and with Laura and with Sean. And boy, Susie, he has a great take on it. He just explains it so easily. He's really very knowledgeable. But he did tell me that Gaza is very close.